much as I hate to admit it, I can be quite naive sometimes. Like the time I asked my dad what fellatio meant in front of my boyfriend Kyle at the time, he was like, Jessica, shut up. But I still didn't know what it meant. So once my dad left the car, Kyle informed me that fellatio means blowjob. I'm familiar. So in 2011, I went on this adventurous trip with my mother to the Middle East. We discovered a lot more new life lessons on that trip. The reason for the trip was I was part of a peace group at the time, and we also went to visit our friends and family in the Middle East, and I got to see where Jesus was born, which was pretty cool. People come from all over the world to Bethlehem to see the birthplace of Christ. And in Christmas songs, they often sing about how he's born in a manger, but actually he was born in a cave. And they built a huge church on top of the cave where my grandparents got married and my mother was baptized when she was a baby. So there's a lot of like personal history there with my family. So one of our stops was Petra in Jordan. Petra, if you've never been there or heard of it, it's a massive ancient city in Jordan carved into the rocky cliffs by the people who settled there more than 2,000 years ago, turning it into the famous silk trade between Asia and Europe. So Petra is one of the world wonders, and most importantly, they filmed one of the Indiana Jones movies there. So anyway, my Arab friends were like, don't go to Petra, there's nothing there. But they don't understand my adventurous American spirit. My mom and I were traveling with a couple of my friends from the Peace Project. One of them is like the Norwegian equivalent to Justin Timberlake. And the other one is an Jewish American songwriter. He writes country songs for American country artists, famous ones. So anyway, it's really expensive to get into Petra. It's about like $75 a person. So we lied and said I was only 14 so I could get in for free, which was really cool because I was 25 at the time. So I was on top of the world. After exploring caves and journeying through the narrow pathways in between the cliffs, we finally arrived to the first large temple. In that large temple square, there are camels and Bedouins and people trying to sell you things and make it feel like you're in the silk trade. Bedouins, if you don't know what Bedouins are, they're part of an Arab race. They live in caves and in the desert. I know a lot of Americans might think all Arabs live in caves, but they don't. They live in regular houses like us. So, my mother, she's really, really sweet. She loves to hear everyone's life stories. So the Bedouins really, really loved us. They were just like really obsessed with us. They kept asking my mom how many camels she would want in exchange for me. And I thought it was hysterical, but I didn't realize that they were serious at the time. So we decided to go with these Bedouins. They took us on mules to the highest point in Petra, so high you could see Israel in the distance. And our friends didn't really like the Bedouins or the mules, so they said they were going to walk down to the bottom of the hill and meet us there. But we were like, no, we're having fun with these Bedouins. We're going to stick around. So our trip down the hill turned into a 5-hour adventure exploring Petra, going to places where tourists don't have access to, sites that were still being excavated. It was really incredible. We didn't realize at the time that the Bedouins thought that our friends were our boyfriends and were trying to separate us from them the entire time. So, anyway, while we were riding with the Bedouins, the guy that I was riding with, Mashur, he kept pointing to different caves and saying that he liked to give Japanese tourists Bedouin massages, but I didn't really know what that meant, so I was just laughing and going along with it, but every time we'd pass a cave, he'd be like, Japanesey, Japanesey. I'm like, yeah, cool, dude, whatever. And at some point, this creepy looking Bedouin showed up, and he kind of reminded me of Jafar from Aladdin, and he kept trying to get us to go leave our Bedouins and go with him. We were like, no, why would we do that? We were just hanging out with these guys are cool. And he got so mad, he tried to run us off the side of the cliff. It was really scary. And then all the Bedouins started yelling at each other. It was truly an adventure. So after several hours, it's getting dark and late, and we're hungry and cold, and I'm thinking my friends are probably starting to get worried about us. So we asked them to take us back to the entrance of Petra so we can go back to our hotel. That's when my mom was far in the distance, and the guy I was riding with, Mashur, turned around and said, "You have a very pretty mouth." And then tried to kiss me. And I was done. I got off the mule and I was like, "No, dude, I'm walking." So we got back to the entrance. My mom was like, "Hey, Jess, I gave them your cell phone number in case they ever decide to come to the United States." Now, I don't know how these Bedouins charge their cell phones in their caves, but this jerk called me all the time, 9 months after my trip. And every time I would answer the phone, because it was a blocked number, he'd be like, "Japanesey, Japanesey." I was like, "Mashur, stop calling me. It's expensive." He said, "You can't put a price on love." And I said, "Says you. Call me when you have 27 camels, dirtbag." And that's my story. Thank you.